guys? Welcome to a new episode of Talk of Fame. We are so excited to have you here. And today I'm so excited for today's guest because it is Marilyn Shannon. Marilyn is an experienced speaker, author, coach, and facilitator. Her messages are always impactful and holistic in nature, fun, and informative. Marilyn describes herself as a stigma squisher and a listening freak. She will tell you why Marilyn is the number one selling author for a book series in just one afternoon listening into the hearts of. This far, she has released books about men, twins, millennials, people impacted by opioid addiction, and Black fathers. Future book topics include divorces, families who have lost children, the greatest generation, and many more. Marilyn believes that the best coaches are those that have lived through their own lives, have trampled and faced the challenges and opportunities that life has in store. Marilyn also believes that being a great speaker and author takes some challenges and opportunities. Her experiences have her developed a sense of what life means and what is available to us, but we are authentic and listen deeply. Marilyn loves to collaborate and partner with colleagues, friends, mentors, and clients. She knows that we achieve the most when we work together. In Marilyn's previous life, she taught special education in the public school system, owned a furniture store, and was a marketing and advertising representative for both print and television. Marilyn holds a degree in communications and public address from Syracuse University. Welcome to the show, Marilyn.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
To kick off this episode, what inspired you to become a speaker, author, coach, and facilitator? I know you do so many things that I can't keep track of, but what inspired you to do this work?
So generally, I really do love people, even now when they're pissing me off. I see the value in each and every person walking this planet. And I see that people are stuck. People have made a lot of things taboo. Like we've made pleasure taboo. We don't even want to talk about pleasure. We don't want to talk about joy. If you walk through the street and you smile, people might think you're nuts. If you say good morning to somebody, they're going to lock you up. They're going to think you want to rape them. I mean, there's all kinds of things. We've stigmatized all kinds of things, and it's keeping us away from each other. And then it's also not allowing us to express ourselves. And I really, truly feel that things we want to say a lot of times are at the tip of our tongue, but we don't say them because we're afraid. And we don't get close to people because all this fear is just making things worse and worse and worse. And you can't feel anything but fear when you isolate yourself. So I want to help shine a light on things to free people up. So that's why I do what I do. It's very simple. We all learn and we experience things in different ways. Some people are going to love this, but other people might just want to read about it. Or somebody may want to just listen to music that moves their soul, whatever it is. So I know that we need to learn in different ways. And I want to shine a light on people and help them be visible to each other and to themselves. I want to be visible to myself. I am, get this, 70 years old. But I do feel 20 or maybe 30 and some days 40, but I am still learning and still shining a light on my own self. And I'm pretty self-aware. And I just want people to know you can too. I know you can. I've listened to people enough to know that we can do anything we want to do, but people need encouragement. And I'm the encourager. I'm the one who can, I am not the only one, but I am one of the ones who can hear, see, listen, talk, and see where people can really have fun and make a difference. And that's why I write my books. That's why I talk. That's why I do these podcasts. That's why I'm an influencer on Instagram. That's why I'm not retired, because I want to do all this and I want people to have fun.
That's honestly, social media can be so impactful to have fun. No matter if you're 70 years old like yourself or 17 years old, you don't have an age limit to make a difference in people's lives or even to yourself. No one
No,
knows what they're doing.
no,
There's
no,
still time to learn. Like it's no matter if you're 17 years old or 70, you're still learning something. You don't know everything.
no. And here you are at your age. I am at my age, and I'm old enough to be your great grandmother. But you
Mhm.
know what? We're gonna learn from each other today. And
Yeah,
today we're the same.
That's why like having these connections in social media is so important. Like that is one of the best things about like what we do is connect with people like yourself to have these conversations. If we didn't have
Absolutely.
social media, like our like where your generation didn't have or your kids didn't have, like we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I love social media, and I don't care who tells me it's dangerous. I will stand up for social media every day of the week
Hmm.
because it's only dangerous because we're making it dangerous.
True. I mean, social media has its impacts, everything has its impacts. But social media can be a good and bad thing. Everything is, like
Absolutely.
one of the best things about social media is connecting with people and really having these conversations. Of course, you know, pedophiles and everything are one of those little things that can be in a different discussion, but social media can be so impactful to have these conversations and connecting with people that your generation or people that don't have social media don't have.
Yeah, because you know what? How many times we would, you know how we wouldn't have found some of the crazy stuff going on? We wouldn't have found it without social media.
Or the news, we don't know anything about those two things.
No, but you can always turn it off if you want to.
Yeah, you have that switch, you're more
Yeah,
welcome to take it off. It's not like we don't have the
absolutely.
option to actually flip the switch and turn it off, we're on
Absolutely.
deciders. So your book series on just one afternoon, listening into the hearts of covers a variety of topics that I can't keep track of, but can you tell us kind of the motivation behind the series and why you chose kind of the specific topics that you chose in a book?
Because I believe that when we give ourselves permission, we can connect with anyone and we
Mhm.
can understand each other when we get past all this other yuck. So, in order to get past the yuck, you got to listen into somebody's heart and soul. And that is not hard to do. It is very easy to do. And when we do, and you don't have to go into every part of their heart and their soul, you can get a good vision of somebody. And so by listening to their stories, by listening to what makes them tick. And so that's what my books are about. My books take a subject that we have misunderstood, we don't know enough about, maybe we criticize, maybe a subject that's very helpful, but we haven't listened into it yet. So the men are amazing, and they are just a breath away from having emotion or being able to. I mean, if you look on Instagram now, you see more and more men out there talking about things, sharing about things, expressing themselves. And men need to do that, but men need to see other men doing it. So that was why I did the men's book. So men would see that other men could experience life and feelings and all of that. That's what these books are about. These books are a snapshot into somebody's somethingness. So the men, they talk all about, being fathers and being husbands and working and how they handle things and their ups and their downs. And then twins, my mother's a twin, and
Mhm.
my mother, my aunt in 99. And if you think I'm crazy, you should see those two. They're completely off the rails. And my aunt still drives, my mother does not, but they're both very powerful women. But twins teach a lot about relationships. They teach a lot about connection. And then millennials, I mean, I don't care what anybody tells me, millennials are not in the basement of their parents' houses and they're not lazy.
Yeah, they are not lazy. I am a twin also. I come from a generation of twins. It basically skips every generation. I have a twin brother, but basically it skips a generation where my father is not twin or my uncle, but my grandfather is to my aunt. Basically,
or
it skips a
fraternal.
generation than twins. So basically it's like one generation has it, one doesn't, then it just goes into a little like kind of a little circle per se.
Wow. Wow. I know fraternal twins are hereditary. My mother
Because
and
me
my
and my
aunt,
brother do not look alike at all.
well, I
So,
wouldn't think
yeah.
so, but I bet you have some really great stories. And,
Oh, there's tons. Yeah.
right? And are you close?
Yeah, we were very close ever since we were babies, actually.
And so that's what I wanted to show. I wanted to show what the relationships were like with the twins so that we could understand what you already know about
Mhm.
unconditional love. You know,
Yeah.
millennials are phenomenal. They just need a break. And then black fathers are an entire world, an entire community of individuals that are phenomenal. Great fathers, in a lot of cases, are parenting on their own or made their mistakes, and now they want to give back. And it's an entire community of people that are misunderstood.
100%.
Yeah, so I pick subjects that we don't comfortably talk about, but we need to talk about everything imaginable so that we don't stigmatize everything and that we have freedom to pick whatever we want from this garden of life that we have. So the next book could be about people who experience trauma or people who've lost a child or artists. I mean, everybody has something to teach us.
Oh, like everyone teaches you something that you may or may not know. That's what is important about the conversations we're having because we learn something new about a person or a subject that we never knew maybe an hour before the conversation even
Yeah,
started. So you learn
absolutely.
something new from each conversation and
Absolutely.
come like a different perspective on someone else's life that you kind of never thought about.
Absolutely. And you know, something interesting too is every time I've done these books, it's not just the people who get to read them, but it's the people who I interview that have some kind of reaction to being able to tell their story in this way. Because it's not that often people really listen to these stories and give people a microphone to share hard things. You know, when somebody's lost a child, you know, people don't always feel comfortable sharing that information.
Hmm.
You know, people don't know what to say. But if you know what to say to somebody who's lost a child, you're more apt to like be okay with that.
Yeah,
So
and most people really connect to people who maybe lost a child if maybe they have dealt with that experience or they have maybe had a family member or someone they know have that experience so they know kind of how to take care of that. But a lot of people don't know what to say besides like I'm so sorry for your loss, like stuff like that.
absolutely. And so if we help people with giving them language, we give them permission, we show them, like I did a talk show for many years called Breaking Free. And all I did was talk about I talked about hard subjects, but how they turn out positive. And it's
Mm.
not about just having a happy ending. It's about what you do along the way. It's about the struggles. It's about, when I went through a divorce, somebody said to me, "You're going to put hair on your chest." And I certainly did. It wasn't easy going through a divorce. I just had eye surgery. Can't even drive. This person who's constantly out there doing things is stuck home.
Hmm. Like
But we got to
everything is a
talk.
struggle,
Well,
like
it can be. Everything has its struggle, but it also has its joy. We just got to be able to see the difference, and we have to have people like you and me and everybody out here coming out and talking about it and giving people permission to talk, to be free to talk about anything.
And it's important to have these conversations. Like if people see that you're having a conversation, whether it's maybe, for example, losing a loved one to a cancer or something, or it can be anything, or if you face some trauma growing up, if you hear someone talk about that they have dealt with the same thing, they're most likely to the person who's listening to the conversation more likely to talk about it. That's because that one person, whether it's a male or female, talk about it. Because if they see it,
Yes. Yes,
see someone talking about it, then they're most likely to because
yes,
someone like them in the world.
yes. I mean, 2 weeks. I mean, I'm on Instagram. Marilyn listens for everybody out there on TikTok too, if you want to follow me on TikTok. But I had on Instagram 2 weeks ago, I interviewed a woman that I know who is a sex therapist. And
Mm,
we talked about vibrators and talked about all different kind of vibrators. And that's ageless, honey. I mean,
mm,
because I mean, that's ageless, genderless. I mean, it's for pleasure. And
mm,
when somebody comes out here and says it's normal and it's healthy and you should, and here's one if you want this effect, here's one if you want this feeling, here's one if you want this. It was great.
Hey,
It
there's
was
different
great.
ways that you don't know.
Yeah, it was great. And we're gonna come, and she's gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about other things like that.
Hmm.
Uh,
You gotta have those conversations, even some of
got
those uncomfortable ones, you know?
it gotta have it, and we gotta, and sometimes I'm uncomfortable asking the question because I'm not sure how should I say it. Should I just come out and say, does it make you high, or what does it do? Explain it. Even explain an orgasm because some people don't even know what that feels like.
Sure,
So
yeah.
we got to talk about everything. And so,
Anything, even if it makes you uncomfortable, honestly, would be uncomfortable asking those questions. That's coming from me. But yeah, you have to be one strong person or a great communicator. Ask those questions.
well, because I have worked at it, I've practiced this. This is something I think we all have an opportunity to do, but we
Hmm.
got to practice listening. You got to practice communicating. You
Hmm.
got to, and you got to take the chance. And once we do, it's an amazing opportunity
Hmm. For
to
sure.
connect. And we all, and I often say to people, we have an invisible line of connection between all of us. Every single person walking this planet, we can make a connection with. I don't care who they are. I don't care what they believe. I don't care if they stand on their head, whistle Dixie, or whatever they do, we can make a connection.
I
Not
love that.
easy, and you have to know when the connection is made.
Hmm. Like you gotta know, like any connection that you're doing, like maybe like it's this podcast interview that we're doing, any connection is gonna help you. No matter if you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, it can be anything. Anything
Anything,
helps.
anything, anything. And people gravitate, people want to be, people want to connect. Look, I have a saying, and you can quote me. People want to be loved, hugged, and rubbed.
Yeah, that's true.
Period.
That's true. You're not wrong in that part. To go back to your book, like was it hard for you to write it? Like what was kind of the process for that?
So interesting. That's a very smart question. So when I'm not I was not, I didn't identify as a writer. I identify as a speaker.
Hmm.
And, but I make up my own words. Like if I make up a lot of my own words, but when I'm speaking the word, they make sense because I've got my drama attached. I've got my expression, right? It's in a sentence. So if I'm making up a word or I'm putting a special tone to a word so that you'll understand or somebody will understand, it's one thing, but it's hard to do that in a book.
It is.
So I had struggled. I mean, I struggled a lot, and I met with a woman who actually lives here in North Carolina, and she's a number one selling New York Times bestselling author. And when she heard about my series, the idea about in just one afternoon, what that means is anything is possible in just one afternoon. You can make a connection like that.
Mhm.
Anything, right? We can, just like this, right? Anything is possible in just one afternoon when you allow it to happen. And magic happens just like that. So she
Mhm.
said to me, she thought it was a great title and she loved the whole thing. And she told me it wasn't until her third book that she actually felt like a writer. And I, at that time, had already had my third book, and that was exactly true. It was my third book that I really felt like I could create those metaphors. that you need when you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the process was hard for me all the time because I had to find ways of expressing a feeling or an emotion with a metaphor and something, when you read something that's brilliant, that describes a feeling or a place or a relationship, and they use common words, but that just lands it, just that the description, the painting that you get when you describe something that
Mm-hmm.
people can understand. That is what I want to do with everything. And that's my struggle with writing. So, but I think that's everybody's struggle. My struggle is no different than anybody else's. Some people can spend years writing a best-selling novel. Years. I don't have the patience for that. So,
Neither. I could not. I can barely last a year, let alone 10.
so when I started doing these books, I thought it would be easier to interview people and then take that story, edit it down to make sense, and then just put it out there in a book, as opposed to just writing it all by myself.
No.
Right? It's not any easier. It's hard to take people's stories that are thousands of words. Because if I'm interviewing somebody, let's say on like this, maybe I'm interviewing them for an hour. That's a lot of words
Mm-hmm.
that you have to get transcribed, and then you have to edit it down to the story, but to the things that make a difference. Like I'm going to say things here that are bull dinkies. You don't care.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that are maybe I'll say that are really good that you want to have. So
Mm-hmm.
in the story, those are the things that I would pull out. And so that's not easy. That takes me days and days and days to go through each of the stories, chop them down, then chop them down again, chop them, and then move things. Because what somebody said at the bottom may be what they need to say at the top. So
Mm-hmm.
then I have to move it all around to make sense. And I don't want to change the feeling. I
Mm-hmm.
want the rawness. I don't change like misspelling and maybe some grammar, but I don't change the tonation. I keep all that the same. So it's not easy for me. This is much easier.
Yeah, honestly, like writing a book is much harder than doing an interview. Honestly,
Oh
doing an
yeah.
interview, you just answering questions. Like it's honestly easy peasy. It's not as hard as writing a book. I don't
No.
know how writers do it because it's literally, I mean, unless you were writing a memoir, it might be a little easier for you, but
Yeah, but not really, because if you got to share your personal story, that's not easy to do either. Because first of all, you got to know your story.
that's
And
true, yeah.
so none of it is easy. However, we we don't have to be experts at anything.
hmm
We don't have to be an expert at writing. I don't need to be an expert at talking. I just need to be able to be honest.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. If you were gonna lie about everything, then what's the point of doing this? You gotta be honest with yourself, and of course with the audience that's listening to this right now. And to wrap up this episode, like where can people buy the series if people are interested in reading it?
So it's on Amazon. Just look for Marilyn Shannon in just one afternoon. It's all my books are on one page, and anybody can buy it from there. And as I said, I'm on TikTok and Instagram as Marilyn Listens, and I share all kinds of things like this and just personal messages and interviews and books that I think are really great that we might pay attention to reading, or movies that I've watched on Netflix that we can learn something from or experience something good from.
hmm
I'm on YouTube also, Marilyn Shannon on YouTube and Facebook. So I'm reachable. And if anybody has a question or want to know more about something, I mean, I'm a communicator. Just reach out
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, feel free to reach out. I definitely will look at like the movie and book recommendations because I'm a big movie and book geek, so that's something that I'm definitely going to look out. There's sometimes I'm always looking for new things to watch or read per se, so definitely will take any suggestions that I
Yeah. I think I might have to, I think I'm going to have to create something on social media about these books. There's some great books out here.
Yeah, you definitely should. I literally just started a new book yesterday, so
Which
that's good timing.
which one?
It's a person that I literally interviewed like maybe 2 years ago. Like what I can't even keep track of how many interviews I've done. But it's Eat, Pray, FML by Gabriel Stone. It's like a book about a wise woman basically saying that like she basically went through kind of a divorce and basically like when she got into a like a dating thing with her boyfriend 2 months later, basically they're in love, like they're basically in a good happy ever after relationship. Then he asked her to go to Italy or travel around Europe, basically
No, I read the book.
speaks into their relationship in case everyone doesn't know or haven't read
What's
it
the, oh yeah.
yet. But it basically 2 days before they were supposed to go to Europe, they broke up and he didn't want her to go with him. So that's basically a little rundown on the book. I didn't finish it yet. I'm basically like 50 pages in.
Oh my gosh.
It's really good. I couldn't put it down yesterday because how good it was.
So you know what? Anytime you want to do anything, all you have to do is ask. If people say no, they say no, but you never know. And that person, I mean, anybody you ask, just ask for whatever. It doesn't matter whether it's help, whether it's no help, whatever it is, just ask.
Is you the worst thing they could say is no. At least you
And
take a
they,
shot and actually ask because you don't know what the answer would be if you never reached out at all.
yeah, and the answer no may not be the worst answer. It may end up having been the best answer for you. You just didn't know it at the time.
True.
That is the best um, answer, the best messaging anybody can get. The most freeing is just ask. If they
Mm.
say no this time, ask again next time, or maybe you don't want, whatever it is, just ask. It's such a gift you give to everybody because people love to do nice things too, and you never know.
Mhm.
And let's say for that interview that you might just hit that person on the right day, right?
Mhm, yeah.
And use what you have. You're 17 years old. Make sure you let people know that.
That makes it very huge. I used to put that in my messages, like to invite people early on. And that's basically what hooked people when I started out, like doing this podcast 3 years ago. Because I know with a lot of people, they don't really like to do interviews, and that's totally fine. It's understandable. But once people see my age, at that time, it was like probably like 14 or 15 years old. At that point, when I first started, they once they saw that age, they'll be like, "Oh, I don't really do interviews, but you're 14 years old. That's something people don't do often. I'll do it." And that's what really hooked people was my age at that point.
You
So,
know what? I will use anything I can, legally, morally, ethically, lovingly, nicely, that I can.
mhm.
So if it means using my age, I'm going to use it. If it means using my surgery that I just had on my eyes to talk about pain, I'm going to do it because I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm not doing it for my ego. I'm doing it because I got it. I might as well use it.
And also use the resources that you actually have rather than not using it at all.
There you go.
That's a way to end it, people. So thank you everyone for listening. I really hope everyone enjoyed this episode as much as I have. I loved having you on. I know this has been in the works for a while, so I'm very happy that we were able to have this conversation. And I really appreciate all the hard work and everything that you're doing at the moment.
Well, I am in love with you, so thank you.
Of
And
course.
I love everybody, and I want to see more of everything out here. Your age, my age, everybody's ages. Everybody doing things, every gender, every culture, everything.
For sure, yeah. So thank you everyone for listening. I definitely have to do a part two with you at some point. But
Absolutely.
I really appreciate everyone for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, review, whatever's on your platform. I can't keep track these days. But thank you everyone for listening. Talk to you guys very soon and